Hey, what's up, guys? I just got done riding a hardtail. Have not done that since I was a little kid. Um, I've been on pretty much full suspension bikes for, gosh, the last 4 years since I really started getting heavily into mountain biking. So, wanted to give you some impressions and why I even considered riding it and borrowing it from a friend who was nice enough to let me borrow it. Thanks, Ryan. Um, So basically, I wanted to try a hardtail. I have been on some pretty, decent bikes. Um, I'm now on a Yeti SB 150. I am was on an Ibis Ripmo before that, um, and basically, been on several specialized stump jumpers and enduros, and a few other ones that I've also demoed during that time over the last 4 years. So, pretty serious bikes. But I really wanted to try something on like the opposite end of the spectrum. And that was either kind of a really low travel, more cross country ish type bike or just straight up hardtail. So the trails around my area, Southern California, Central Coast California, they are a mixed bag. I'd say that most of the ones that I like to do are steep fire road climbs with long descents. So you're kind of in a different state of mind for the climbs, and you're in a totally different state of mind for the descent. So sometimes it's just so hot on the climb. I even just, you know, put my helmet around my backpack, and don't wear any pads, and I put all that stuff on once I get to the top. So it is something to consider. We don't have many trails that are, you know, kind of a mixed bag between some climbs and some punchy climbs and descents and then climbs and descents. So we don't really have too much of that traversing. At least the ones that I've been on. There are definitely a few that are around, especially here in Southern California. I just haven't really gotten to them yet. So anyway, I wanted to do more of those and change it up. The hardtail, I think, would allow me to get into another bike without spending too much money and really have another bike to ride when the SB 150 or any other kind of enduro style bike that I have at the time would just seem too much. So was really thinking about a hardtail. Um, I think that the reason why I want to try something different is because I want to start working on like fundamental skills. I definitely want to get a hardtail that is easier for me to learn, like for example, riding clipless pedals. I ride flats right now, but I definitely want to get on a set of clipless pedals. Um, I want to really work on technique, like slow speed stuff, really technical stuff, uh, things that are probably I would just ride through and bomb through on something like an enduro or SB 150 or like Pole Stamina or something like that. So anyway, let me show you what I rode today and then give you some of my impressions and some of the good, some of the bad, and where I think it could help and where I think it won't. All right, so hope you guys find something useful out of this video. If you do, then let me know by liking or subscribing so I can make more of these. If you don't like them, no big deal. I won't be doing too many of them. All right, so let me know by doing the like thing. So this is what I wrote today. This is my buddy's uh, fuse, specialized fuse, 29er, size large, I want to say. And this was kind of I think it's his second or third bike, and he rides a specialized enduro right now, which I really like. It might be a little bit too much bike for me, that's why I went over to a Yeti. But in terms of this hardtail, let's see, let's just go over it. So it's got the new Fox 34 Grip 2. By the way, this new Grip 2 damper is so much better than the old regular grip damper, especially on the 34. I think on the 34 it really made a big difference. So he has built up this bike in a very similar spec. I think I would. And this was, you know, kind of one of those bikes where I think he was in the same position as me. He has a lot of extra parts, but, you know, doesn't want to spend a lot of money on a whole new bike. So a lot of this stuff, I believe, were like hand-me-downs from friends or things he had in the parts bin. Like, for example, that's my cassette right there that I gave to him so he could put this thing together. But let's see, I think it's a 65.5 head tube angle on the slackness scale. I don't remember what the seat tube angle was, but I'll put it on the description below. I didn't have any issue with it, so it was perfectly fine. It wasn't too steep, it wasn't too slack, so it puts you in a decent climbing position for what you want to use this bike to climb for, you know. I wouldn't really use it on super steep stuff, but all the ones that I rode today, which was a little bit of mixed riding, really I had no issues with it. It's on a 760 with bar, very similar to how I would do it. I normally ride a 800 or 780 on an enduro, but on something like this, 760. I haven't weighed this bike, but I'd say it's about maybe 25 pounds. I'll weigh it a little bit later and I'll post it up in the description. So it's a 29. I want to see, these are carbon wheels. I forgot to ask them. But I think these are also probably the only thing I would change on this bike as far as if it was my spec is he's running 2.6s in the back, and what is this? Is it 2.3 in the front? Something like that. I would probably go with a much less burlier set of tires. He might have just had these lying around, I'm not sure. But I would probably do like the most aggressive Recon I could find for the back that Maxxis sells, but obviously it's a Recon, so it's not going to be super burly. And I would probably do like a dissector in the front in an XO. So as far as what I would do, I would also run the same fork, if not maybe like a SID or something. He's got pretty good brakes on here. I didn't have any issues with the brakes, RSCs, G2s, and obviously the Eagle drivetrain GX mostly, I want to say. The only thing that I would absolutely 100% change, because I am not that good a rider, to not need a dropper post, but I would absolutely want a dropper post on this guy. And that's mostly what held me back today. I just didn't want to go and, you know, raise it and lower it, raise it and lower it manually. So I just kept it at kind of a medium height, which wasn't amazing for climbing, wasn't amazing for descents. But I would definitely, pretty much a game changer if I had a, or if he had a dropper post on there, at least for someone who isn't, you know, a super amazing rider like myself. So one thing I would change, obviously I mentioned before, I would add clipless pedals just so I can get that practice in. He's running 180, 200 rotors on these brakes. I'm not a huge fan of SRAM brakes, especially the RSCs, but for a lighter build like a Hardtail, which, you know, honestly you can't, it's so stiff in the back. It's a short wheelbase and kind of a not very slack head tube angle, so you're forced to not really ride super aggressively anyway. So the speeds are a little bit lower than obviously what I would be experiencing in something like my Yeti. So you don't need like super burly brakes. So this is where I feel like if you're gonna build a bike, you should build it to optimum specs for what the majority of the riding that you're really going to experience for that bike. So like I see guys who, and this is just my own opinion, you know, obviously everyone has opinions, but I wouldn't put like a, you know, 36 fork on this, for example, or over fork it to like, I don't know, 150 or 160 or whatnot, unless you really have a specific purpose for why you want to do that. So anyway, some of my impressions on riding it. It wasn't as rough as I thought it would be. Honestly, I didn't miss that rear suspension travel, but that's because I wanted to focus on specific trails that I knew I would ride the bike for. I did try some chunky stuff today, and basically on the chunky stuff, excuse me, on the chunky stuff, it was pretty much like not very comfortable, obviously. I didn't have any issues under hard braking. Your knees and ankles are, you know, exposed to a lot more punishment. So I wasn't tired like I was pedaling. I was more tired and fatigued from like my joints and stuff. So, you know, it's not like a huge deal breaker, but if I had clipless ons, I'd have much better control of the rear end. And I think that with a bike like this or any kind of hardtail, I think what's going to be like the really cool part about it is you're able to use your legs as more of the whole system. What I mean by that is, you know, you're definitely using your knees, your ankles, your leg muscles as part of the full suspension system. So that riding that way has a little bit of a different dynamic, and obviously it's going to be shorter, slower, but I do feel that it's a whole different way to like kind of hone in on your skills, and I want to try that. I want to, you know, I'm a pretty technical guy. Like, I'm not a huge super fast bomber, but I like to really study the technical parts of things, and it's just the way my brain works. So that part is fun for me. So again, like, I'm fairly risk averse, so I don't like to take a huge lot of amounts of very high risk activities, but I do see room for this. I think I might start looking at probably maybe like a nuke proof or something where I don't have to spend a whole ton of money, but can really kind of make use of the longer days, the smoother trail days, the days when you feel like taking, you know, a big enduro bike is a little bit too much. But I might want to work on more technical skills, or maybe ride with like friends who are a little bit slower. I would take something like this. And this, I'm not really convinced yet if this is going to be more like someone's third bike, or like for myself, if this would be like a third bike or if it would be like a second bike. So right now I have one main bike, and I've always had pretty much one main bike, whether it be like an Ibis Ripmo or a Specialized Enduro, or you know, my current Yeti SB150. I think that I haven't really decided if I need to get like maybe something like a transition spur, or like a Revel Ranger, you know, one of those like 110, 120 millimeter, you know, more aggressive cross country bike. I'm not going to say the word, more aggressive cross country bikes, or if I would use something like a hardtail. And the reason why I say that is because the SB150, for example, is a pretty good, like, almost do everything bike. Like, if you just change your shock tune, which you can do with just turning the knobs, and if you change the wheel set, so if you put, you know, right now on my Yeti SB150, I have 2.5s and 2.5s in the front and rear. Pretty aggressive, like assegai aggressor combo. But if I put on like a set of recons, or, you know, something in the 2.3 range, it would really transform that bike. Like a forecaster in the front, maybe it would really transform that bike, and it could pretty much do everything. So I've been battling whether or not you know, getting like something like a Revel Ranger with that CBF rear is going to be too much overlap between what I could do with just one bike, or if I should just get a hardtail, because a hardtail is like the whole opposite end of the spectrum. You're going to be slower, but you're able to, because your bike is less capable, you're able to work on your technical skills. Like, I feel you can work on your technical skills, you know, a lot more. So anyway, that's just sort of my mindset on why I decided to try a hardtail. And if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I will definitely answer them as best I can. And hope you guys are riding your bikes and have a great day. All right? Thanks.